Welcome to Larry the Alchemist, and welcome to another edition of Dudes Talking Metal. This is where we get the finest and most knowledgeable dudes on the internet to get together with you at the Lair to talk all things heavy metal and hard rock. And we have Tony Dio in the house. Tony has just launched a YouTube channel, Tony Dio's Metal Emporium. You've seen him here on Dudes. You've seen him. He's all over the internet on Almost Human. I see him on there all the time. He's all over the place. So you know how knowledgeable Tony is. And so far, he's been showing a lot of his personal collection. And we've seen him on Dudes start pull out his stuff, and he's got a lot of stuff. So this is going to be a really cool, exciting channel. Make sure everybody heads over there to Tony Dio's Metal Emporium and subscribe to that. And from the For the Sake of Heaviness channel, returning here to Dudes Talking Metal, we've got Mike. Mike, thanks for joining us again.
Always a pleasure.
All right. Well, we are doing our five favorite metal hard rock instrumentals. An instrumental is can be a very cool thing on a record to give it sort of a different. Usually, it's like something that gives it a little bit of depth to the record, a little change of pace. Sometimes an instrumental can be. It can be a kind of a fun little interlude thing. So we thought it would be fun to list our top five favorite metal instrumentals. So we're going to start with you, Tony. Give us your five.
Number five, I'm going to go with Fractured Mirror off Ace Frehley's 78 Kiss solo
Mm,
record. Very
good one.
unique sounding song. He used guitar synthesizers on that, along with some cool, acoustics and 12 strings. And the guitar synth was a very new instrument at that time. So, who better than the Space Ace to kind of bring that into to the Kiss world? And that's it's just a great song. And of course, they went back and on his Frehley's Comet albums, they'd revisit those and make some different updated versions, or like Fractured 2 and so forth. But
Yeah, yeah.
nothing's as good as that original version, man.
No.
It's so cool. It's just a cool, mellow out I don't know, it's kind of trippy in a way, it's
Yeah,
what you expect from the Space Ace, in other words.
right.
So number four, I'm gonna go. It was kind of tough on Iron Maiden. I want to pick an Iron Maiden song, and I was like, man, I mean, you got Genghis Khan, you got what else? The one I went
Transylvania.
with,
Transylvania.
Transylvania. That's the one I was trying to
Yeah.
think of. I went with one from this one, Lost for Words,
Uh-huh.
which is it's funny the way it's spelled. It's like a loss for words. That has got LOSFER, lost for words. I remember a kid thought it was Lucifer words one time when I was kids or whatever. He's trying to find something else in it, but great track from the Power Slave record. Very cool song from them. I think they did perform it live a few times because there's a live version floating around. It was a B-side for one of the singles, but that's just a really cool. I remember the B-side. I think it was Bruce comes. He introduces it. There's no freaking words on it. So okay, next up, the opening track of Yngwie
Mm,
Malmsteen's
Oh,
Rising Force,
good one.
Black Star. Every time I hear this, it just takes me back to the first time I ever heard this
yeah.
record, because there was nothing like this at the time. Nobody,
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, there were neoclassical players. I mean, Blackmore was doing it and all, but not to this extreme. Just it's just so over the top with the playing on this, and Yngwie's got his style of his own, and he pretty much just he was the blueprint for all that followed. And Black Star is just such a cool song, and I think he still performs that one to this day. If he don't, he should, because
Yeah.
it's one of his best instrumental tracks. And my number one pick for this is going to be Merciless Onslaught from the
Mm.
debut Metal Church record. God, what a great song, man. It's just, I mean, Kurt Vanderhoof's, Kirk Arrington, that is, the drummer is like the lead instrument. I mean, the drums are just so over the top
Yeah.
in this, and it's so out front in the mix. It just carries the song. I mean, that's the way this whole album is. I always thought the drums were very out front on this album. That's what I was so disappointed with their follow-up record, because the drums are almost buried compared to this one. And just early day Terry Date production too. Yeah, but it's such a killer song, man. It's just you're gonna air drum, you're gonna air guitar when you hear that song. I mean, when I'm driving down the road and it comes on, I'm just my head's
Yeah.
bobbing and my hands hitting the steering wheel with like a drumstick or something because it's just such a killer track. Yeah, and if you go back around, I had a couple of honorable mentions I can throw in after we go around. Yeah,
Cool. Yeah, great picks. What was your first one? No, no, it was yeah. What was the
Ace
first one?
Frehley.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
the Ace one. I always thought that there's a little like lick in there that always makes me think of "You Can't Kill Rock and Roll" from it. It's a very similar like do dee
Mm-hmm.
doo 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 doo. And when you mentioned the Iron Maiden one, I remember you mentioned somebody misinterpreting the words. Well, when I was younger, I had no idea the whole what is it, East London, dropping your H's and stuff like that. I'm 12 years old. I have no idea what that is. So when I saw Lost for Words, I thought it was like Lost for Words, big aura, like an aura, and I thought like, oh, the Egyptian thing, the
That's
aura
right.
of
I
Yeah.
didn't bring
God.
that up. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
in
And
parentheses. They
little did
call
I
it.
know, here I was putting all this meaning into it, and little did I know it was just Lost for Words, big horror. It was just sort of a goof kind of title, but as a kid I wanted to think it was some, really deep thing tied into the record. But
Yeah,
all right, cool.
absolutely.
Mike, what do you got for your five?
All right. I kind of had a hard time putting these in any kind of order, so I've got them ranked fairly loose, but we'll go with it. So, first one, I had to throw Metallica in there. They've got, a handful of instrumentals, but the Call of Cthulhu is still my favorite just because it still retains that rawness. Orion is really good, little, I don't know if I want to say proggy or whatever, but Cthulhu has still got that just super raw vibe from the whole album, Ride the Lightning. I know a lot of people will tell you that, yeah, I get to an instrumental, I'll skip over that and let it go. But this one still plays out all the time. I never ever skip that one. Um,
Great one. Yeah.
this one's one of my absolute favorite guitarists, and this instrumental in particular, Insanity off the Eye with Andy
Mm,
LaRock.
yeah,
Just, I love it when you've got a metal album but they're still not afraid to throw acoustic guitars in there because it just brings a whole
yeah,
different vibe to the whole thing. And it being an instrumental, like you were saying earlier, John, it kind of mixes the whole thing up a little bit. So this one in particular, the melody is so heightened on this particular interlude, but it wraps itself around, of course, the concept of the album that King Diamond's famous for. So fantastic, one of my all-time favorite instrumentals. And then if we're going to go lengthy instrumentals, the ultra violence. I mean, 10
mm,
minutes of absolute magnum opus, all over the place, thrash instrumental. And they check all the boxes. Anything you could ask for, it's right there. So you gotta have that one. And Tony, I'm with you too. I kind of fought over Transylvania, but I ended up going the same
mm.
route. And it's always been a favorite one just because I love hearing Nico at the beginning count it off.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, but it's a great, and the twin leads going through this whole song too. Just it's a real cool joy to hear.
It's
And then
very Lizzie like.
very a
Yeah.
Yeah.
perfect way to put it, very Lizzie like. And
Uh,
then I had to put Voice of the Soul
oh
from
yeah,
Death.
yeah,
I mean, again, we're all familiar with Chuck, we're all familiar with the catalog, but that particular one, the emotions fly through this so much. And then, whenever this instrumental comes on now, and now that Chuck has passed too, it just kind of takes
yeah,
on a different meaning. So
yeah,
that's another one of my absolute favorite instrumentals.
yeah,
Well, there
yeah,
you have it.
yeah. Awesome, great list. Okay,
Great
I
list.
put
Yeah.
mine in sort of a loose order. I guess my number top two, I have them there, and I wanted to go a little bit deeper. I was thinking when you guys suggested this topic, I had made a playlist maybe like 6 months, a year ago of metal instrumentals, and I thought, oh, okay, this will be easy. I'm just going to go down this playlist, and I thought I'm going to try to grab some stuff that's a little bit deeper. But then I really couldn't. The ones that I picked, these are all pretty popular, but I felt that they really deserved to be there. So number five for me, Switch 625 from Def Leppard.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just think the way it fades into that, the way that song fades in is just awesome. And I like instrumentals that are just not, sometimes an instrumental can be just a chance for the guitar player to shred, or It's like an instrumental showcase, but I like instrumentals that are more compositional, and I think Switch 625 is that kind of thing. It builds really nice, do do da do do do.
Yeah.
It has some dynamics to it, and they get to solo and everything in it, but it feels like a composition. It feels like a
For
thought out
sure.
composition,
Sure.
which I like. All right, number four, one of my favorite guitar players, Into the Arena, Michael Schenker. I'm not at my normal layer location, so I don't have my records with me, but Into the Arena, I always thought that was a super cool instrumental. It's got a little bit of a classical, neoclassical vibe, sort of overtone to it in that main riff.
Yeah.
I could have gone with Captain Nemo, but Captain Nemo, I mean, I love Captain Nemo, but Into the Arena is a little bit heavier. It has a little bit of more of a metallic metal sound to it with
Mm.
that main riff. And his, of course,
Yeah.
his lead playing is just so melodic. Uh, that's the thing I've always loved about Schenker is that it never sounds like he's just throwing his fingers around on the neck. It sounds like he's always sort of playing melodies and stuff like that. So, and I had to put Into the Arena on there. All right, number three, I went with from the Love Drive album from the Scorpions, Coast to Coast. This is another one that, again, it's sort of like the Def Leppard one, where it's kind of like a composition type of thing, and it just has this cool, and where it sits on the record too, I think it's just super cool, and it has this sort of laid back groove to it, and the way that
Sure.
main riff goes through the whole thing, I just love. All
You
right,
know,
number number.
John, I just realized that I only picked four and that was on my list.
Yeah,
I
I was
just,
thinking
yeah,
that. Did you?
What?
I
yeah,
was thinking
yeah,
that you might have
yeah.
missed one.
Coast to Coast was one of them. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's a great song, right? And it just
it
it
is.
really fits the mood. And they used to play
And
that.
something else I like about that song too is when they play it live. Klaus always has a guitar and he's just kind of just playing rhythm, but he's kind of more
Yeah.
posing with it and stuff, but he's having a
Yeah,
good time, Guys, it's so fun to watch. But yeah, great track. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, very very cool. Number two for me, Orion. So I went with a Metallica instrumental. I
Sure.
think the Metallica instrumentals. I always felt that it made Metallica seem really intelligent. Like their instrumentals seem very thought out and intelligent. And so Orion, I think, is maybe Cliff Burton's masterpiece. His bass playing in it, the layered basses, the distorted
Yeah.
bass playing the melodies, when everything sort of drops down and the doo 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 doo, the bass is
Yeah.
taking the melody there. And just the dynamics in it, I think, are great between the heavy riffs and the different tempos. It's just very almost classical sounding with the layered guitars
Sure.
and everything. So I had to have that one on my list. And number one for me is I think yeah, Tony, you picked an Yngwie songs, but I went with Evil Eye. I always thought that
Mm,
that's just I
It's
remember
yeah.
when I heard that record for the first time, I was completely floored. I had never heard anybody play that clean and that fast before. I had heard, Uli Roth, Richie Blackmore, Randy Rhoads had this classical element to their playing, but Yngwie was just 100% Bach and roll. There's no blues licks on that
Rock and
on that
roll.
record at all. I mean, it is just 100% neoclassical. I did a video not that long ago where I had the three most, in my opinion, the three most important and groundbreaking, game-changing guitar albums. Jimi Hendrix already experienced at the first Van Halen, and I put the Yngwie record, and I got some
yeah.
pushback on the Yngwie record, but my point was is that these were all albums that once they came out, it changed the way everybody played. And
Absolutely.
just like Van Halen was a game changer. It's like before and
Yeah.
after Van Halen one. Yngwie, even though his record wasn't as commercially successful as Hendrix and Van Halen, he just completely changed the guitar. All those Shrapnel records, guys,
Oh yeah.
all anything after that, it just was just a complete game changer. I saw an interview with George Lynch where he was talking about the Dio Stars recording and how everybody was just in fear of Yngwie. Yngwie was like, and Yngwie was relatively new to the scene at that point. I'm not even sure if his first solo album might have been out at that time, but it was still very early for Yngwie. And he just talked about how he was the guy that everybody was just like,
Yeah.
scared of. And he came in and just, tore it up. So I always loved that one and the whole like dadder dadder doo dadder 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 doo dadder dadder doo in those pauses there, where and sometimes he'll throw in a little lick, dadder dadder doo do some crazy little guitar thing. And there's an awesome live Alcatraz. It's on the live Parole Alcatraz album. And
Hmm.
when he does a da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, the crowd sort
Yeah.
of shouts and those do ba da da ba bam bam ba da 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 da. It's just so awesome, man. And so I miss that era of Yngwie when he played fast, but he was very melodic and had all these themes and everything. Now it just sounds like he's throwing his fingers all over the neck. But
How many of you made the connection like first? Because we kind of knew the name Ingve, and we knew okay, this is some super guitar player, but we didn't actually make the connection until we figured out that it was the Steelers song that was the intro to Metal Shop, and we thought that was like the greatest thing ever.
yeah,
And then once we figured out that oh, that's Steeler, and then we're like, oh, that's that Ingve. Then we all
yeah.
kind of lost our mind and really went down, the Ingve road just from that
Yeah, I
connection
didn't
alone.
discover Steeler till I got Rising Force when Rising Force came out. My local
Sure,
college radio station played Black Star, and I was just completely floored and went out and got it. So I went back then, and he was still in Alcatraz at that time. And so I got the Alcatraz records. He was just getting ready to leave Alcatraz, but I got the Alcatraz records, and then I got the Steeler record.
sure.
And then I was like obsessed with Yngwie pretty much up through trilogy. And then I
Yeah,
sort of, I liked Rising Force, but then I sort of got off it a little bit. But
His
sure.
first three records are his best
yeah,
still to this
absolutely.
day. Yeah.
All right, let's
Without
do
a
a
doubt.
quick go around with some ones that maybe didn't make your list. Tony, what do you got that didn't land on
Well,
your list?
since I missed Coast to Coast a while ago, I was like I didn't have my record down. That's how I somehow didn't grab it. But I actually have this in here. This is a Love Drive, 12-inch promo, and the B side is Coast to Coast
Oh,
on it.
look
I
at
had that out earlier when I was
that.
taping something. But you guys mentioned a couple things. I had Into the Arena on my list for honorable mention and Ultraviolence, two great songs,
Yeah,
and of course Switch from Def Leppard. If you've seen Def Leppard in the last 10, 15 years, they always go into Switch after Bringing on Heartbreak,
Yeah.
and they make it a tribute to Steve Clark. They always have a bunch of
All
oh
right.
pictures
wow.
and stuff up on the screen, and Vivian and Phil come out and just play their hearts out. They make it a tribute to Steve Clark,
That's
so
really
that's
cool.
definitely pretty cool. But a couple others I would mention is Narita by Riot from
Oh,
the
good
Narita
one.
album.
Yeah.
Really cool track
Yeah.
there. I mean, Mark Reality's just playing his ass off on that. And March of the Crabs by Anvil,
Yeah.
because it's
Oh
pretty
Head
yeah.
much
on. Yeah.
it's kind of considered the first thrash metal song, you
Yeah.
know.
True.
Good one.
And they always I just saw Anvil a couple weeks ago, and they always open with that. He
Yeah.
comes out and stands in the audience of 30 people and plays it. Yeah, it's cool. It's great. Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Well, Mike, what do you got for some honorable mentions?
I also had Into the Arena on my list. As big of a Kiss fan as I am, I feel kind of silly that I missed Fractured Mirror. That was a perfect pick too, Tony. And then
Thanks.
the other one too is In Flames early on.
Yeah.
There's a instrumental on here called Wayfarer that's really, really good. And the middle section on here completely changes the course of the whole song and they circle back around. But instrumental wise, this was a really, really good song.
Is that Jester's Race?
Jester's Race, yep.
Yeah,
To
man, I
me,
haven't
this is
listened to
their
that in
best.
years.
Oh,
Yeah, good
yeah.
good stuff.
These guys really stylistically changed, after I think Clayman, I kind of
Mm-hmm.
jumped
Yep,
off.
yep.
But
Rewrote to Remain. I remember seeing them open for Slayer, and they were all in like jumpsuits, like
yeah,
Slipknot and stuff, and then they just completely changed.
yeah, it was like overnight, and I remember we were all like, "What's going on here?" But anyway, yeah, Wayfarer on Jester's Race, superb instrumental.
Awesome. All right, I had two that almost made my list. From Flotsam and Jetsam, it's on the CD version of
Oh,
Doomsday for
yeah,
the receiver,
man,
Flotzilla. I think
Stella,
yes,
that that's a
yeah,
pretty cool thrash instrumental.
hell yeah.
And Obituary from Frozen in Time, Redneck Stomp.
yeah.
They open their shows with that a lot. I think all the time, actually.
They do.
Yeah,
They
Yeah.
open
they
with
do.
that, and
Yeah.
it's just a pretty cool kind of sludgy, heavy driving tune. I think it's pretty cool opening up a show with an instrumental. It kind of just gets everybody
Sets the
pumped up
tone.
and yeah,
Yeah.
sets the tone and everything. So. All right, well, there you go. There's our selection for our five favorite instrumentals. Let us know what you think of our picks. Let us know some of your picks down in the comments down below. Make sure you check out Tony Dio's Metal Emporium and make sure you check out For the Sake
Thanks.
of Heaviness. And we'll see everybody at the next Dudes Talking Metal.